Welcome back to DJ Carl Play Legacy. On this episode, we have David on Mono Red Prison, and me, Josh, on Mono Black Scam. My opening hand, I had 2 Stalactite Stalker, 2 Dark Ritual, 1 Troll of Khazad-dûm, 1 Fatal Push in a swamp, hoping to descend those 2 Stalactite Stalkers by swamp cycling that Troll. On David's side, he kept a Mountain, 1 Chrome Mox, a Simian Spirit Guide, Magus of the Moon, Blood Moon, those Bombardiers, and Fury. After looking at our opening grips, I decided to start off with a very explosive start, playing a swamp, tapping it to play Dark Ritual, adding 3 black mana to my pool. Slowly count down 1 Stalker, a 2nd Stalker, and using that final black mana to swamp cycle Troll of Khazad-dûm. As you can see, I pointed to those Stalactite Stalkers because Troll of Khazad-dûm hitting the grave will allow me to descend. On David's side, he started off with a Mountain. Now casting the Chrome Mox and printing it with a Blood Moon there so that it will produce red. And now since we saw the opening hands, we know he has the Fury, so we can assume that he's just mulling over which card he's going to use to evoke it. Since 2 Stalactite Stalkers on turn 1 descended is pretty brutal. And there you have it, the Fury being evoked, pitching the Magus of the Moon because he's realizing Blood Moon-esque effects are going to be useless in this matchup. Now pitching a Simian Spirit Guide to add another red to the pool, getting down the Bombardiers on turn 1, and crashing in for 2. I'm going to take an untap and draw. I'll peel a Snuff out from the top, play my swamp, and sadly, pass the turn. Dave's going to do the same, take his draw step. He's going to play a City of Traders and empty his hand with yet another Bombardier. Now, I sit for a moment and pause before a combat because I have a Snuff out in my hand. Not really sure why I didn't just take one of them out on sight. But I take the 4, and David passes the turn back to me. I'm going to cast a Dark Ritual. I'm going to add 3 black mana to my pool. Tap my swamp here for a 4th, and cast a Grief against 2 menace creatures. Not sure where my head was at that point. But I pass the turn back. David takes his draw and then attacks with his Bombardiers, gaining the Boast triggers. Me not realizing it, I cast my Snuff out by paying 4 life. The one I target, he sacks. Being able to throw 5 damage at the dome, I have to take 2 more off the combat damage. And his draw was a Simian Spirit Guide, which he can just throw at me for the win. Taking a look at our sideboarding, I'm going to bring in 2 Plague Engineer, take out the Snuff outs. David's going to take out 3 Magus of the Moons and 3 Blood Moons for 4 Leyline of the Void and 2 Dead Gone. Alright, we're going to start game 2 off here. My hand was 2 Reanimate, a Thoughtseize, Verdant Catacombs, Troll of Khazad-dûm, Fatal Push, and a Swamp. Going on over to David's side, he kept Mountain, Ancient Tomb, City of Traders, Den of Bugbear, Goblin Rabblemaster, Unlicensed Hearts, and a Dead Gone. Now being able to start the game on the play, I cast the Thoughtseize, and this is where I lose by not realizing the Verdant Catacomb can trigger Revolt off the Fatal Push. I could have easily taken out that Rabblemaster, but instead I say, David, why not give yourself an Unlicensed Hearse on turn 1 and make me really work for the win. I untap, draw, play my Verdant Catacomb, and pass the turn. And Unlicensed Hearse doing its job, eating away those cards in my grave. Allows David then to untap draw. He plays Den of Bugbear. Tapping 3, taking 2. Casting the Bombardiers. But now I am not an idiot. And realizing the power of this card, I fetch. Finding myself a swamp. Shuffling that deck back up. And casting the Fatal Push. At that point, David was thinking if he should be using the hearse at that point or not. Which is probably a smart thing he didn't, because I take the time to Swamp Cycle the Troll. Now remember, I had the 2 reanimates in my hand, and those are going to be tricky to cast because of the hearse. So I have to be thinking, how do I bait David into either targeting my grave or his own grave? So we'll see the line I choose. I untap and draw. Tapping a swamp for a black, I cast Reanimate and I target his Rabble Master, hoping that he'll take the bait and just exile his own grave so that I can get my own troll in. But he does not bite. I do get the Rabble Master on my side. And after we search a little bit for the token, I'm also going to play a Wasteland, excuse me. And I go to combat and I poke in for 1. And I take the time to Wasteland the Ancient Tomb, which once again maybe wasn't the right choice, as we knew he had the City of Traders to be able to produce 2 mana off 1 land, but here we are with the hearse. Slowly eating away my grave. David plays the City of Traders, taps 3, and casts Dead Gone, using the Gone ability to return the Goblin Rabble Master to his hand. Another surprise moment in Magic, where if you don't read the cards your opponent has and has shown you, that's how you lose the game. Here I am poking in for 1. Munching away that graveyard as the hearse. Just slowly getting bigger with each passing turn. David takes his draw. Tapping 3. He casts Fable of the Mirror Breaker. And you can just see the different levels of power that these decks have. The mono red prison just goes off turn after turn. Where the scam deck, it can be hit and miss. As you can see, the last few turns I haven't been able to do anything except stare at my hand and ponder over why I'm playing the deck. Or playing the deck poorly, maybe. Draw a Wasteland, take out his red source this time, which is probably what I should have done the other time with the first Wasteland, but can't attack in with my token, so I just get to let David play Magic as I F6 through his turn. He draws, adds a second chapter to his saga, discarding a mountain, and getting to draw an extra card. Tapping 2 mana, sacrificing it, adding another red. He goes for a Goblin Rabble Master. And this is where he ponders for a bit, because he realizes that he can crew the hearse. But he wasn't sure if that was the time, because, well, he knows I have Reanimates in my deck. But because he's pretty much cleared the way, cleared the path, I mean, this is just kind of nail in the coffin at this point. So he crashes in. his creatures. I have to block the hearse because it's a large one. I can't remember if it was a 5/5 or a 7/7 at that point. But after we deal with the combat damage side, David passes the turn. I take my draw. I tap my swamp to cast the Thoughtseize. David reveals a Leyline of the Void, Fury, and Bombardiers. I have to take the Fury because in my hand is that last Reanimate that I'm going to use to try and clear his board. But at this point, I'm still looking at his hand, realizing he has another Bombardiers, and he's just going to be able to pitch things at me. So my hope is that he just doesn't know what the card does, even though he won game 1 with it. I played the Prismatic Vista and passed the turn. David takes his draw. Last chapter of the saga goes off. Reflections of Kiki Jiki. David plays the Ancient Tomb. Taps for 3. And if you couldn't have guessed it, down comes the Bombardiers. I look at my hand, realizing that it is just a dark ritual. I scoop it up. Well, thank you for hanging out. I hope you liked the video. If you did, subscribe to DJ Carl Play Legacy.